Can't remember about it.
So,
No, I was, when we discussed, because we discussed that we weren't gonna meet.
so we're calling the November 13th meeting to order and do not have any members of the public online, but we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then jump into our meeting. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we can jump right into the introduction of our new board member, Jamie Day. Thank you so much for volunteering. We're excited to have you. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the group. Tell us a little bit about yourself. The usual bio. How long you've lived in Narberth? What drew you to wanting to volunteer, etc.?
So, Jamie Day, I'm born and raised in Narberth, and I have a 8-year-old, almost 9-year-old daughter at home, and I would say, I started my career in community works at Narberth when I was in high school. I was the art director for camp over here, so that's where it began. And I've always been very active in leadership throughout college, RA, RD, resident assistant and whatnot. And then I got into working, lived in the city for 10 years, and 2 years ago I moved back to Narberth. And I know my mom was just very much an active member of Narberth, so it's just kind of
That's so nice.
as is my brother, Michael, who's on the board. He said, he was interested, he wanted to kind of diversify and get some parents that had kids on the board for parks. So I told him I was very interested and I sent him the application and here I am. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you. And I mean, you've met most of us by now.
Mhm.
Is there anyone you haven't met on board?
So Cheyenne said you look familiar. Tell me your name again.
Rebecca.
Yes. So I think, I don't know you guys personally, but I definitely met them in brief. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I know.
And I'm Jean Borough, I'm a borough council and I'm the liaison
Okay,
for this group.
okay.
So she used to be a member and then she left us.
Okay.
Counts? So we're fortunate that she was appointed the liaison between council and us. So it's nice to have that continuity.
Yeah.
But without any members of the public, we can pass over public comments. We've introduced Jamie, and then I actually couldn't find the minutes from last month's meeting or the last meeting on May 8th. So I'll have to keep digging and see, does anyone remember who was the secretary who took the notes at that time?
Michelle.
Perhaps. So it's okay. We can move it to next month to approve.
And they're all recorded, so we can look back and
Correct.
see, because I didn't see anything, I could have looked at the.
That's okay.
Recording it, say, because I didn't, thought there'd be a sheet from Dennis right here for me to look at.
Well, the if all of you haven't heard already that Alan has resigned as of
No.
yesterday.
Oh.
And he'll be
Today.
staying today. And he'll be staying on, well, because, yeah. So he'll be staying on part-time to help with during this transition period, but he is relocating to San Diego
Oh, good for him.
in the near future. So, that's unfortunate, but he'll be missed.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So the first item we're gonna get to is the master park planning update. And Rebecca is the chair of the master park planning committee. So I wanted to have her provide us with an update on where we're at, because that's been taking up a lot of the time of some of the Parks and Rec board members and Jean and Michael from Borough Council and Jeff from Public Works. So that's why we haven't had a Parks and Rec meeting. Since May. Well, we took the summer off, but we didn't have a September and October because of, the tremendous amount of work that we had in the final months of that master park planning process. So I'll give you a minute to share with the group how that went, and for those that aren't aware.
I just
For
wanted,
these
I wanted to point out, I was on that committee too. I mean, I said all these nice things about Michael and Rebecca. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
So, actually, the study committee is winding down at this point. We've done a lot of work over the last 6 months, maybe. That involved a lot of community outreach and input from the community about the plans in each iteration. And so we think we found a nice, future for the parks. Right now, Simone Collins is finalizing a report that they will be sending to the study committee first for review and then out for the December 4th meeting of the Borough Council. And that report will really give the details about all of the work that's been done. The site visits, the iterations of the plans, the public input, and including in it will also be estimated budget for each of the chunks of work that has to be done. So I think that once everyone sees that, it will give a really good overview of all of the work that's been done. As some of us are aware, there's been a wrench thrown into it that Lower Merion has responded back to us. One of the outstanding issues was the skate park, and that has been back and forth since the beginning of our study group. And we had resolved like a 10,000 square foot skate park that would also allow for 2 pickleball courts and a multi-purpose area that would be adjacent to the skate park. Late last week, they communicated back to Alan that they were not interested in a 10,000 square foot, that they wouldn't contribute towards something of that size. They would only be interested at, I think, a minimum of 14,000 square feet. And they were looking at contributing up to $1 million, which sounds fantastic, the amount of money, but it also then, brings us, and it's obviously gonna be Borough Council who has to resolve this, the interest of the community and their feedback versus, that's a lot of money sitting on the table, that they would also, they've indicated they would also support everybody's favorite topic, the restrooms, renovation of the restrooms for the park, as well as in the whatever agreement is decided upon between the borough and LM would also include some maintenance budgeting as well. They had budgeted that for 2026, I seem to recall, looking at the last email. So there's a lot that has to be discussed. Dennis has been a strong proponent of ensuring that this park has some representation that's wider and more diverse than what is now. Primarily, I think it's safe to say, a park for the kids of Narberth. No one argues, everyone loves that it is that. But now we have this opportunity to include maybe some activities for different age demographics. But we have to weigh that against what else we could be doing if we had $1 million that we could be spending on the park, on the skate park versus other activities within that. The other outstanding issue is Sabine Park. And a lot of discussion happened over the last few months about if we knew what was going to happen with Sabine Park, if we knew how much of the land would be put aside for park use, then a lot of this public input that we've been getting could be mapped towards, or at least discussed within, what to do with Sabine Park. And I think that, it goes back to again, that skate park. If the borough goes through with the, agreement with Lower Marion and builds a bigger skate park, then how are we going to make sure that we're representing other demographics within the borough from an activities standpoint? So Narberth Park has been a big one. The other one is I keep calling it Center Square. The middle of Narberth. The original the original design did not include parking for public. And there are a number of businesses, primarily certainly the AB's, the wine and liquor store, that is reliant upon the parking spaces close in. They can be carrying out cases of wine for their customers. And they've been pretty adamant that they need parking. So Simone Collins has gone back, and there was also, and I don't remember, Fox, there was somebody named Fox who has, I thought maybe he's on the planning commission instead of borough. He designed another way of looking at.
I think that's just a sketch of what a different alignment would look like that
With those-
also provides the angle.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name, the guy that did it. So there have been a few iterations since that have included parking. But again, that's one where a lot of the public input was that they really loved the idea of that being this center where we could have a stage, we could have presentation, we could have music. All of that would be housed within this area that would not provide for parking. And also the road, the Haverford in front of it would be increased a little bit so that people would have to slow down as they came through Haverford through that area. So all of that now, again, that has to be looked at and balancing the need for, and certainly the interest in supporting our businesses with how do you then create a space that will be big enough and allow for the public square concept that everyone is interested in. And then the third is Elm Grove, which we on South Side are aware of as the big empty field. They come out with I don't think there's been any controversy around that folks, there's gonna be new ways of getting into it. It will be a naturalized area, they're gonna open up. I shouldn't say they're going to, but recommending opening up the stream on our side of the stream so that we can have a more naturalized look there as well. The other side is owned by the private property, and they have to decide what they're gonna do with that side of it. The only issue with Elm Grove and there's gonna be walking trails and places to sit, it will be very pretty, very nice. The only issue with that, and everyone is aware of the safety issue. Folks from the north side coming over to the south side to enjoy that park. Going through that tunnel is a scary little something, and if you have a stroller or you're on a bike or something like that. It's much safer to actually go to the closed bridge, go over that, come down Elmwood and get to it in that direction, which adds time, and not everybody wants to do that. So Simone Collins has recommended some potential ways of remedying that, but that's again something that's outside of the scope of what they were asked to look at. But really does require some additional thought, because that's been an ongoing issue for both people going south to the north and north coming to the south once this park is open. So the 3 parks are included in this. The next time that you look or see it, it will have the details about what the final recommended plans or draft plans are. And that will be, I think, from the early December until January, it will be open for public comment. So anyone can look at it, go in and respond about what they think about what the plan looks like. And then in January, the borough will actually, you know, vote on the recommendations. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I just want to add that, there still hasn't been any kind of phasing or cost.
That's what they're working on right now.
Assessment,
Yes.
so that is coming, they're going to be developing that, and I believe that should be ready for the council presentation.
Yes, they said today that they would have that available maybe 3, maybe 4 days in advance. I think they didn't realize that Thanksgiving was so close to when the meeting was happening. So they're actually now gonna try to gun towards getting it out to you before Thanksgiving, but that, I don't know if that's gonna happen. So you can get it that following Monday.
Right. And also, just a little bit about the presentation that they made at for planning commission,
Yes.
last week, you know, the basic feedback, or there was some concerns about, I don't, maybe you can, you were there.
So there were concerns because if you've been to any of the public meetings with Simone Collins and their presentations, they tend to go over. Like, if you give them 20 minutes, it's gonna be 40 minutes easily. So that was one of the issues that they needed to tighten up their presentation. So when I was talking to them today about that issue, they were saying that the presentations that they certainly should stay within the time, they recognize that. But the presentations they've been making thus far really do go into a lot more of the detail about the plan design. And when they present to council, you're gonna have this 100-page report in advance. They're going to really focus less on the design elements and more on that, the phasing, the costing, you know, what has to happen, what they recommend happens first or second. It's a very different type of presentation. There are also issues about sometimes some of the members of Simone Collins can be a little know-it-all-y. And that was addressed as well, that maybe recognize that you're talking to your client. And they actually said this, yeah, they're very interested in doing more work with the borough, and that's certainly important that they know that some folks are looking at the way that they respond to them in a negative fashion, so.
I think that one of the feedback, from the planning commission was also, in general, they were supportive of both the Elm Grove Park and Narberth Park plans. But for the Station Circle plans, they couldn't, weren't supportive of it in its current state. But the study committee did make recommendations of what would improve it, and, they were generally supportive of that.
Yeah. But they're going to show the same designs, I believe. I don't know if they're making, one of the questions or one of the things that the study committee had asked is that Simone Collins not show, one of their ideas was to change the direction flow of traffic on Haverford and Windsor. So I believe that their design may still show that because they think it's pretty critical to the safety feature, the safety aspects, but they recognize that's outside of scope.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for that great recap on the Master Park Planning Committee. Did you have anything?
I have a few comments. Since, I don't know if Cheyenne and Jamie, heard much there. In the end, Simone Collins had recommended the skate park at no more than about 8,000 square feet. And they thought that having a larger skate park didn't suit that area, cramming everything into that area. From the outset, Lower Merion has been very aggressive and adamant in trying to get a skate park built here. And they had originally wanted it at 18,000 square feet. And then at one point when we were going through our discussions and made seemed pretty clear we weren't gonna get up to that size. Their response was, you know, we gotta have that, well, maybe we can do 14 to 16,000 square feet, but they were adamant it wasn't gonna be more than that. So at the last meeting, or last iteration, they kind of bumped up the skate park to 10,000 to accommodate some of the other interests. And Laura Marion came back and said that it's gotta be at least 14,000 square feet, so their position has been pretty strong. They want it to be a regional skate park, which I think would be a nice thing for the area, but my own view is I don't think that's the right spot, like Simone Collins did, that it's the right spot for that kind of a size of a facility. So that's one thing that I think, I don't think it's an issue because they've made it pretty clear. It's gotta be 14,000 square feet or we're not putting up any money. And secondly, at least when we're going through all these discussions, it seems pretty strong that everybody thinks, most people are thinking, it's kind of hard to make decisions on Narberth Park itself without knowing what, if any, use you have of Sabine, because that could alleviate some of the issues. Elm Grove seemed to be a winner by all concerns. It's a great environmental space. Station Square, I think everybody thinks it looks great as it was designed, but there's a pretty strong pushback from the business community that we need some parking, and I understand, it's not just, as I understand it, not just State Store, but State Store is kind of a draw. People park there, go to State Store, and then they can go to some of the other shops. So I know Borough's been trying to come up with some solutions on parking, so they've got, the Borough committee, you know, council's got a lot on their plate in trying to figure out how to fit everything in. But that's all I wanted to do.
Thank you, Dennis.
What's the current size of the tennis courts there?
So the whole thing is about 18,000 square feet. So,
Of the tennis courts, 18,000
Yes.
square feet.
So
That's now the
it's like the
skate
current
park.
skate park, basically,
correct,
yeah.
18,000?
18,000.
Well, there are no additional comments on the master park planning update. We can move on. So, an AED for Narberth Park, at our last spring meeting, we brought it up, but, I wanted to ask Jeff, and thank you for coming, Jeff, as always, if there's been any updates to that, and if there's anything we can do, you know, do we like make a formal recommendation to the borough council, et cetera, if there hasn't been any movement?
So there is not. I know at the last meeting, I had mentioned that we get that grant funding yearly from our insurance for the borough. But Matt wants to use that funding to do some fire code updates to the building here. I did have a brief discussion with Matt this morning about the, potential AED for the park. What you all would have to do is make a formal recommendation to the infrastructure committee, and we will discuss it there before, and I guess it would move from infrastructure to public health and safety before it would go to full council.
So in other words, we need to make a motion on that.
Correct, that make a motion that we would, as long as we, we have enough to pass it. And then I would write a formal email to the infrastructure committee members, this week.
And we've discussed it a bit before. I think we need one in the park, so I would make a motion
Definitely.
that an AED unit be purchased by the borough.
Okay, so we have a motion. Second, all in favor? Aye, all right, so unanimous. I will email them this week and copy all of you. Great,
You had checked in how much those things cost, didn't you, Dennis?
I did, but that was last winter.
Can you remember a ballpark or not?
Yeah, $1,000.
I think we could
was just some of the ones, but then you have. They don't all come with good housing. Which that's a variable cost depending on how high in the housing that it sits in. So that could be. That could either double it or maybe several hundred.
And we don't have any in the borough, do we, Bill?
The police have one, we have one in our trucks, and there's one in the building here.
Yeah.
Right outside the
Does that
store.
sound about right, Jeff? About a grand?
My
per
last
unit?
estimate was 2,800.
Okay,
That's the unit, the
and the
box
house,
and signs, you know, to let
Okay.
you know where it is.
so
That's kind of,
turnkey,
that's kind of top to bottom.
Okay. makes sense. Right. Well, it is, the winter is approaching and there's less people in the park. So maybe we can get this approved for the spring. When things pick up again. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Mhm.
So 2025 planning, that's really the goal of today's meeting as we approach the end of the year is to go around and see, you know, what's on each of your minds, and if it's something that is being addressed, that if we're aware that it's already being addressed, or if it's something totally new that we'd like to discuss working on as a board. And also with Jeff here, I wanted to ask him if there's not necessarily things that like projects for us, but like what's the state of the parks? And just to give us an idea of what's been going on, pros and cons, if you don't mind, and that maybe help us brainstorm as we think about next year.
Okay, so, you know, I'm sure we all know our playground equipment is hanging on, you know. Our crew here does a phenomenal job of keeping it as best we can, you know, we wish we could do more, but, you know, replacement parts just aren't available given the age of this equipment. Couple things that we have planned for this year, if you notice at this park here, we replaced the excavators earlier this year. There was actually a lawsuit brought against a township for that same style, because if you look at, you know, like where you play, that can walk out from the rod, and a child actually lost his finger at a park. So we're going to replace the additional 2 at Sabine this year. We'll order them as soon as we get our new allotment of funding in January. We're also going to be replacing the adaptive swing down here to mirror the one we installed this summer at 201 Sabines Park. Kind of removes like the rope harness, and it's more of a secure kind of different sizes, you know, everything. So that's that for playground equipment. You know, if you look at the condition, you know, we all know the drought that we're in. You know, you look at the field. Yeah, I walked across it this morning to meet with our tree guys. We're out there retrimming a few things, and so we're going to be renting a few different pieces of equipment to really kind of aerate a bit deeper. You know, this year our equipment that we own is great for general maintenance, but when it's this severe, you know, we need to rent the equipment. So we have that lined up for spring. It's just getting the schedule from, you know, the leagues and users of the field as soon as we can, so we can kind of seed around them if we need to do certain spots. We haven't seen as much, you know, knock on wood, with the court light and bathroom hours resolution that was passed. You know, we still deal with the kids who like to kick off the bathroom door in the men's room. Don't know why it took us 2 hours to fix it this morning. So we'll plan, you know, like we do yearly in there, you know, a paint job on everything, check all the plumbing lines. We did replace the toilets, you know, earlier this fall, to get a higher, you know, flush power out there. I think the toilets out there had a stamp date on there from, you know, the early 90s. So, yeah, they served their purpose. Yeah, so we're kind of at the point, you know, with our department here where we're just trying to keep things safe, not trying to invest too much, given the potential that new equipment will be coming, but we still need to keep things safe.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes, and you and the crew do an amazing job with what you have available to you. So thank you. Well, as far as 2025, I'll go around left to right. So Dennis, what's on your mind? Is there anything you can think of that you would like us to consider working on for next year?
It's kind of hard to figure that, given the park study, and we're trying to see what the bigger plan is. One of the things in the survey came back, that people just want to see at least things maintained, and I think you're right, Jeff, and that was gonna be my first question. Let Jeff tell us what he sees and what needs to be done, because I think seems to me we're kind of in a maintain things as best we can sort of stage until we know where there is money or where there's going to be any changes to be made. I don't know, how we can spur that on in any way, if there's, any way to get some money to help them out. I mean, it feels as dry as a bone, just like my lawn, per se, or at least the lawn I used to have, so, you're saying you're aerating, and I'm thinking, then when you said the spring, I said, good, because there's nothing's gonna happen but a dust storm and, so,
It is like the grapes of wrath.
yeah, so I just, any way we can help the staff maintain what they have right now is, to me, what we need to do, because we don't know what the next step might be in terms of any greater plans or where we could spend any money. So really, that's about all I can think of at this point, guys.
Thanks. Cheyenne?
I don't really have any particular thoughts. I'm just
Okay.
kind of waiting for Master Parks information and
I have worked those.
And
like,
stay by
those new machines. though.
figuring out like what's
Yeah.
happening out there.
They're pretty
Sure.
I just have a question actually before, so. The role of Parks and Rec,
Mhm.
let's say then. Borough Council says, yes, we're gonna get moving on the playground to start with. Like, is our role then to help in, which I doubt, the selection of the swings and things, like, what would or is our role more like? One of the things that came out in the public input was also more, like, not class, like teaching people about planting or something like, different than around that. Yeah, like,
nature and
Right.
ecosystem.
so is that a role that we would have, that we would reach out and try to develop almost like a schedule of different programs that would be taking place throughout the year to get more people into the parks, I even say park. To, familiarize themselves more with it in a way that helps them learn and engage with, the environment around them, or even learning, there could be older people who wanna learn how to play baseball. I don't know, I just throw it, that's
So
like,
programming,
yeah.
yes, that
Thank you
is
for
not
using
out,
the right word.
that's not outside of things that are
Those
purview.
words don't come as easy as they used to.
You know,
Yeah,
of course, we all know our role as an advisory board to the borough council to take on projects that, related to the parks and recreation
yeah,
programming. So we've just had, obviously, over the past 2 years, we've had a lot going on. Now that the master park planning, committee has come to, an end, there's no reason why we can't consider some programming and start small,
right,
just like when we started with the, the park rental program. We started small, so we didn't bite off more than we could chew, made it really easy, for people to reserve picnic tables in the gazebo, something really simple, right? Well, what types of simple programming can we do? Because we don't want to get into, developing curriculums, et cetera, or
No,
taking on costs, but are you thinking about like an environmental education program over at Elmwood Park from that a local volunteer would put on, things
I
like
know,
that?
again, I'm thinking it's like,
Shift would be a good resource.
yeah, well, I was,
They're
that's,
sustainable, so I feel like that would be a good little section there.
like we should be partnering, maybe thinking in this year of reaching out to other committees, reaching out to Shift, doing something and meeting with them to partner on maybe some programming ideas. And also like a fun, like even in the, and we may already do this, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know it, but I have kids that are in their 30s. Like having almost like a family, like family games where, you know, you could see, it's the one where you throw the
Cornhole,
like having like,
Cornhole
like
tournament?
a day, yeah, a cornhole tournament or something like that for families in the springtime. Again, always trying to come up with ways to bring people. Yes, yeah, I like love movie night, will ya?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Movie night is, yeah, that is, that would be
And
pretty
if
cool.
that's But that's our role, then we should be doing that, right?
That's definitely something that we could work on is
Yeah,
starting a movie in the park night in the spring.
yeah,
Definitely. Philadelphia parks do that at various parks.
Art museum, do a thing.
Mhm.
Ardmore, I think they started doing it, South Ardmore, they tried to, like, they do it once a year, they just get a giant, they rent a giant inflatable. Movie screen.
And,
Do it.
you can also fill up a big white sheet too.
I have a friend who does that, he has one of those, yeah.
So that's definitely something that we could consider.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how licensing works, whether you're allowed to just play any movie in public. I
Bet
don't
you
know how
not.
that works now, or how that works with.
But we could find out if
We
our
could
board's
find out.
doing it, yeah.
We're allowed to, we're not charging people, right? So,
No.
We gotta have a copyright lawyer in this town somewhere.
well, come on, don't you know?
I don't do that stuff.
You don't do that stuff?
Yeah, we could have food trucks that come, cause I know Michael has always wanted those food trucks in Narberth Park.
Well, one of the things we talked about years ago for the whole master planning committee was utilizing things, Sabine parking lot for things like a food truck festival.
Yeah.
Because it is such a such a big open space. And that could be a potential fundraiser but a food truck festival in the Sabine parking lot
Yeah,
is very doable.
conceptually.
You just have to get more garbage bags.
That's all we need.
That's all we
Garbage
need.
bags.
Those- they were-
Jeff is on board, he's got the garbage bags,
Yeah.
right?
So we have family activity, cornhole tournament, movie night.
I think that the
Narberth Garden
environmental,
Club,
the environmental stuff would be really a great thing. I think that. That hopefully could get tied in with, with the development of.
Elmgrove,
Opening up the
right.
street a bit more.
we could have them
Yeah,
walking
kids
through,
and adults.
have them walking through, the one that's across the street from us.
Shortridge.
Shortridge and all, what they're doing, and to kind of show the community. It's not something that in the blink of an eye it's going to happen. This is this is, you plan it this year, this is what you see the next year. And really help the community understand the vision for Grove Park, but also understand the environmental connectivity to what we want to do there.
And it is also a piece of ground that should help the borough out in some of their legal requirements in terms of sedimentation and so on.
Yeah, and that whole educational aspect of it. Anyway,
So environmental education programs,
Yeah.
through, in partnership with local volunteer groups.
I took some too.
Has anyone gone to some of the free programming at Bartram Gardens in their lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
they
honey-
have a robust program, but they obviously, it's a lot different than us, but I just use it as an example because they have things from educational programming to activity programming. So that's something that we can definitely do. They have a movie night, they have free bike rentals in partnership with the local bike rental company. And they do free kayaking and fishing on the Schuylkill as well. Those are, I'm not saying we can do any of those, but those are just some ideas.
But we should
Things that they
learn
do.
from.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a similar like parks programming at, like the Wissahickon Environmental Center,
Yeah.
River Bend to do like bird walks or tree walks, mushroom walks.
Well, we've got Wild, we've got,
And Haverford College, they use
Yeah.
their creeks, they give the
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
the creeks for the parks, and they do a whole education system there.
yeah,
so, yes, that's, you helped make my point that there's so many area. You know,
Lower Merion Conservancy, don't they? They're pretty tight with this, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they were
they,
Right,
instrumental in
and some of
getting
these are,
young
yeah,
girls from
collaborative
there.
projects where it might be hosted here, but we're bringing in someone to kind of run the program.
Yeah.
so those are all wonderful ideas, that there's no reason why we can't do one or all. So how do we prioritize and who wants to?
Well, let's continue going around. We don't know what
Oh,
other
that's
great
right.
ideas are coming out of this.
So,
Well, I'll piggyback off of that, I was happy to help, I feel like that programming stuff,
Yeah.
I get excited about that, and I know how to make connections and draw people in, I feel like.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I would be happy to help with anything on that. I feel like I'm fairly new, but I feel like I've been attending the meetings, so I just know the whole thing on my mind. I just feel like everybody that I just spoken to, and I feel like probably that nauseam, the skate park, everybody wants the skate park, so I'm like, how can we make it happen, but, I realize there's so many issues within that, but I just know from what I'm hearing, I've literally asked people, even skateboarders going down the street, like, do you use it? Why don't you use it? Some of it, like the older kids don't really wanna use it, the younger kids love it, so there's such a mixed bag, but I do feel like, from what I'm hearing, not even based on my opinion, I need to pull for it for what I'm hearing from the south side of Narberth, from the people that live there, and from the,
They want the bridge
And
before
from
they
the-
landscape.
I don't know, I'm okay with that bridge being out, honestly, I'm like, I think. I live right by that intersection, so it's gonna be, 204 was that?
Oh, I'm at 117 Elmwood.
Okay, yeah, right there, too funny. But yeah, so I feel like that, and I had the same thing about Sabine, like, what could we do with that, like, could that be a skate park? Could that entire space be a skate park, could it be, and the parking, could TD Park Bank behind that be a parking space? So I feel like I have all these ideas going on in my head as you're going, but talk about priorities and prioritizing, I'm just gonna kind of listen and learn while I'm new here, but though, that's what was kind of swimming around in my mind as you guys were talking. Yeah, like solutions that I was thinking of that you guys have probably already thought of, honestly.
we haven't thought of everything, but there's so many layers to it as you learned
Yeah.
in attending the meetings. You know, Sabine, our
Yeah.
temporarily, our hands are tied temporarily.
Yeah.
Because there's no action we can take.
And the skate park is rode by the train station, so I feel like it makes it easier for people to get here from there,
It does.
Yeah.
As well as,
not to like beat a dead horse, I know.
yes,
it's been
and being next to the police station helps,
totally,
as a deterrent.
yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, that was all pretty much like skate parks, Sabine, I like that we noted the bathrooms. That they've been, in need of some, TLC, and I'm really excited about the program.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, really excited about it, and I don't know, media does the Wednesday nights under the stars, I don't know if it's something we could do, like, I know we were doing that in the summertime, with music. Like, if we close down a street, I don't know if that's something.
Close down Haverford on like the first Friday and just have it Yeah, is that something with parks though? I don't know.
Well, that would
When's the
be,
bus route
Recreation.
that would be something that, that would be something that, like, for example, Narberth Business Association
Okay.
does the fall and spring event.
Yeah.
Where they get the roads, where they close down Haverford.
Okay.
But any additional events, you know,
Yeah.
we can always, we can propose whatever we'd like to Borough Council as a recommendation and
Yeah,
get their buy-in.
yeah.
But
Especially if Station Circle becomes a little park, that could be a little
That would
programming
be
area.
many years from now. but-
Yeah, that's a long term. Long time.
But as far as things that we could do realistically for starting next April when it gets warm.
Yeah.
Like people wanna go out, like what's realistic? A cornhole tournament is definitely realistic.
Well, you could tie that into, you know, the afternoon is cornhole and then it's stay for a family
Movie.
movie night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something like that. But I think thinking of prioritizing, I think we also want to chunk it out by the different. These are all very different types of activities, you know, environment / nature. Family night, you know, family activities, I don't know what that third bucket would be. And then start looking at the demographics of who we have and who we're trying to attract to these events and then what those events could look like. And partner with the various organizations that can help us with that. So anyway, I don't know if we're, you know, we wanna make sure that we're trying to reach an untapped market within Narberth that aren't as familiar or using our parks. I think that would be a nice thing to bring more people into them. Although I think that most of the activities like the July 4th celebration, the music nights in the summertime, that brings a nice broad group of people to them.
It does.
But I feel like the movie night could almost be like the Wednesday night concert series, but like a movie series.
Yeah. My daughter lives in a condominium in Philadelphia and they have every Thursday night at 7, they have a movie and they do like October was certainly a scary movie month.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just a way for everyone within the condominium to kind of get to know each other and come and watch a movie together. So it's something like that, you know, like it had kind of themes.
When I lived in Iowa City for grad school and they had a free Saturday night movie that was like, you know, projected on a big screen
Yeah.
outside in the park.
Yeah.
Definitely feels like something that would
That's a,
be like a Narberth thing.
that is
Yeah.
a wonderful idea.
Kids can come in their.
Cornhole in the afternoon and then the sun goes down, movie.
Yeah.
Movie night.
Yeah, it's pretty late in the summer is the only thing. It's like, you
Yeah.
should be kind of cute. It's like
So-
going to the drive-in, you have to.
Yeah.
So then I guess April, while it gets darker earlier, right?
Yeah,
Still. Yeah,
It's
you
a
don't wanna
little
do it,
cooler.
you don't wanna do it,
it's a little cooler.
you don't wanna do it in May and June though, because it's too bright. And then the
Yeah.
little kids, it's bedtime.
I don't know.
And hence we gotta think about those.
I mean,
things.
it
Yeah.
is-
Wear your winter coat and come out in April, you know, end of April. Right,
Yeah.
welcome to,
If
you
you're
know,
not to drop to a fire pit or something.
Jeff, what do you think about the fire?
There's a fire ban right
My trucks are white, their trucks are red.
So they do, on the Villanova campus, they do have like fire pits set up, basically, not like wood burning fire pits, but little
propane.
ones, I guess, and they have them in little chairs and like scattered around different places on campus. It's very nice, like,
They got no
cozy.
budgetary concerns. so
They-
they're-
no, I think, yeah,
Yeah, they're in a
must be
different
different
world, they're
yeah.
different here.
No.
But that is totally realistic, a movie night sometime in mid-April. So do you wanna look into if copyright, like, are you allowed to play a movie in public?
As long as you don't take money, yeah, we'll find that out.
It doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with that, but we wanna double check. And cornhole, that's,
Who doesn't love cornhole?
uh, I don't know, but I'm sure it's not hard to find cornholes sets. So cornhole tournament movie night in potentially in April.
Oh, we could even get those big bowling pin, you know, it could be fun.
I was cleaning out the basement, I got a whole bunch of old VHS movies, so. Yeah.
Well, our library now rents a setup for outdoor movie projection,
Our library.
Margaret Library.
Do they really?
What?
That's cute.
So is it
Excellent.
some,
Pretty sure.
is it something that we would be able to, like, is it a commercial grade one, or is it just like,
It's fairly
Small.
small, like
Okay.
I watched it at a friend's house, they did a Halloween movie, for a Halloween party on their driveway.
and how,
Uh, but the screen is like not super big,
okay,
it's kind of driveway width, but,
okay.
so I don't know if it would be big enough for.
Probably want something about as big as the pavilion we hear about.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
we-
that would be better.
We can ask, did you say Ardmore does it? I mean, yeah, we can certainly reach out to other
Sure.
places and see,
Find out. How-
yeah.
Yeah, in front of the gazebo because there is power there,
Yeah,
and then you could put the speakers behind the screen on the gazebo. Logistically, that probably would be the best place, and everyone just
Yeah.
sits on the dirt patch in front of it.
yeah.
Unless we get rain before that, then there's grass.
Well, we're supposed to get more rain in the next 2 weeks.
Okay,
I have actually a question about this aeration thing.
when is it gonna rain?
Rain. Will that mean that we don't have to worry as much about how bad the drought has been thus far?
We need a very slow
Yep.
soaking rain, you know, so the problem now is, you know, that top
Yeah.
3 inches of soil is
Runs off.
hard, so it's just skating right off.
But we are supposed to get more rain in the next 2
Yeah,
weeks.
you really just need 4 days of something that drips, you know, because, I mean. I thought I had a good one, I had cracks in the tiny, I'm bumping at me, you know, it's crazy.
I'm willing to reach out and at least get some information about all this and bring it back to our
Sounds good.
committee.
And then I will look into a food truck festival, like how
Yes.
the logistics of that. Call Paul Manioc, Business Association, and see if anyone's willing to talk to me, because they do one every year.
Yeah.
And
And we had a few, you know what I think, on Environmental Day,
In
whatever,
our birthday, they
Yeah.
have a food truck.
they do, they have
Yeah.
food trucks, so whoever organizes that might be able to give you some information about it.
Narberth Day,
Yeah.
so is that
In May.
something that the Shade Tree Committee put
It's
on?
the Civic Association.
The
I
Civic
think.
Association?
Yeah.
There's an ice cream truck here in May. Maybe it was.
Mr.
Yes.
Sofsky?
There is an ice
No.
cream truck every
Yeah,
10
right.
minutes.
That's-
No, this one was like a,
Boy, can't they come up with a new tune?
it was her first, one of the first Fridays.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went to
Yeah.
Emily Smith, I think, got them. Stewart.
I remember,
Stewart.
yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
And it would be nice maybe to reach out to Shift and, you know, not so much tell them what we want, but kind of talk to them about ideas that they may have about educational issues about the environment. Yeah, I still think we should be doing more from that perspective, Parks and Rec. Though I guess it isn't a park, it's not a rec, it's environmental. But those types of, that kind of programming, yeah,
So environmental education programming,
yeah.
Well, when you initially started talking about trees, I thought you were gonna say about signage for like in the parks, like
Yeah.
maybe at, especially the Elmwood Park might be a good place to have almost like an arboretum where they kind of identify different plants and things around, which is really
Yeah.
nice.
I love that walk.
Yeah, it's so nice. And they list.
Not under programming, but just under general park improvements.
No, that's, a lot of the survey results indicated that interest in parks and trees and
Yeah,
Yeah.
like those kinds, it's something I think that,
And just about like children being connected to.
yeah.
yeah.
The world around.
If you go to Short Ridge, if you go to Short Ridge, little kids can be down there in the water and,
Yeah,
you know, they can fill around and.
Yeah.
That's what Elm Grove really has the possibility of providing too, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
The bank gets knocked down some, however they work it.
Yeah.
okay.
That's something I'm actively working on now, is making like QR codes for our trees and plant material.
Oh, nice.
You're already
Great,
ahead of
you're
us.
It's been all on my list now for like 4 years to do,
Uh-huh.
but I just think it'd be a neat thing to do. you know?
Yeah,
Not that I don't like getting that question of when we're in the park of what's this, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
we can do a QR code that takes you to, like a PSU site, to list the tree, a few fun facts about the tree, and the rest is up to them.
yeah.
That's impressive. I think that would be great.
Then
You'd have to teach me how to do the QR.
your,
Didn't you just say red oak?
is your clock still blinking in your VCR? Um,
I'm on the internet, everybody's on the internet superhighway, I'm on the internet cul-de-sac.
okay. This has been wonderful, and I'm excited about the ideas that we've discussed, and so Rebecca will look into cornhole and movie night. I'll look into food truck festival options, and who would like to take environmental education programs?
About that.
Okay, thanks. That's it.
Great.
Gene, anything you want to add?
I have to say, I'm very excited about all this discussion about the programming. I know, like, as we were like thinking about the individual parks, we were thinking and also thinking about, needing to a need for programming for all of the parks to really activate those spaces and see what it could be. So I'm really excited to hear that discussion. And I also think that as Simone Collins comes out with their phasing, that'll also make kind of clarify what might need more focus.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Well, then, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn at, look at this, 7:59.
Look at that.
Perfect timing. So, all right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I do it.
All right, second? All right,
You're usually the only.
okay.
Gave me an opportunity to really make her first motion.
All right, well, let me stop this recording and we'll continue.
Great, see y'all next month.
Okay.
So where are you on? You're on the first one?
I